news segment time. The news. Let's take a look here. Okay. I had another thing, but I guess we'll talk about it later. Okay. First things first I need to address is I oofed. I screwed up. They did release, data for James Webb, but, they did actually release photos. Quite stunning photos, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. We're getting some great advertisements here.
What are those aliens, or where are those photos taken?
I don't know. Of the worst photo art that's ever been made.
Are those Martians? Is that how good James Webb is?
Apparently.
You can see people living on Mars.
Anyway, so James Webb dropped some beautiful photos. They did drop some data. Okay, yeah. So I do owe an apology. I did screw up. And I mentioned that in the title of the segment. I was wrong, but God, these... So... I would look at, so I've been, all these people, they've been talking about, first time this, first time that. And I'm like, is the Very Large Telescope in Chile just chopped liver? I thought it was an infrared telescope. And it's got the adaptive lenses, so that, it can get good quality photos like this.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen a single person mention it. So it must just be... That is not... So it must just be because of the fact that James Webb is in space that these photos are even better. Because, they've got the tech... the Very Large Telescope. But it's a bigger lens. It's a bigger mirror. So, well, anyways. And, we only get... 10 years. 20 at the most with James Webb. Mm-hmm. And they were... I don't remember who they asked. I saw some news coverage. I don't remember if they asked... Well, first of all the news coverage of it sucked. So, at least the two news coverages I saw, because the one had Bill Nye, and the other one had Neil deGrasse Tyson. And they didn't even have enough time. They didn't even give Neil deGrasse Tyson, enough time to talk about it. He had, there could have been so much more he could have said. And I did go watch a Star Talk later where he talked about it. But even then, I just feel like he could have said more or should have said more. Because, in the Star Talk, he was, trying to get his host to say stuff. And I'm like, that's not why I'm here, Neil. I don't care about what your guest has to say. I'm here what you have to say, Neil. And the Bill Nye one, it just sucked. I don't even remember. At least they gave him time to talk about it, but they didn't ask him. They asked him the kinds of questions that I guess people who don't understand astronomy would ask.
So actually, James Webb is better. James Webb has a 0.1 arc second, and then the Very Large Telescope. It's actually composed of 4.
Right.
And what?
Right. I knew it was composed of multiple telescopes.
And so all of them combined is 0.2.
Mm.
And a single one. Let's see what the single one is. Oh, no, 0.002.
That's better.
Yeah.
That's
0.05.
That's still better.
Yeah.
Whole magnitude better. Everybody's just ignored it. Yeah, just wait till the extremely large telescope drops in 2030. James Webb, what? James Webb will be trash. What I thought was pretty cool is what photo was it? Maybe it was Stefan's quintet. This one, this photo. These dots here you see are individual stars. We have never, ever been able to pick out individual stars in galaxies before, even in Andromeda.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Allegedly.
Like, obviously, very large telescope, like, everybody's just ignoring it, but anyways, allegedly. And I'm like, what? Even in Andromeda? Andromeda's, like, stupidly close. Like, stupidly close. Like, what? Compared to Stefan's quintet. But anyways, so some really cool stuff. This is a really cool image, right? So, you've got the near-infrared image on the left. And you can see you can see the white dwarf in the middle. Or not, it's not the white dwarf, it's a star in the background, actually. It's not even actually in the bubble. This is behind it. But if we switch to the mid-infrared, I think it is, because this is Miri, I'm pretty sure. And you could see you could see the white dwarf orbiting another star. Or another star orbiting this white dwarf. And you could see these two stars inside. So this isn't even...
Actually, I don't know if you're giving them enough credit, the Very Large Telescope. Apparently, they've been averaging more than one peer-reviewed scientific paper per day. In 2017,
well, no, I'm
there were
talking
over
news
600.
coverage, though.
What?
I'm talking news coverage, though. Like I said, I said, what the hell?
Oh, news coverage.
I'm like, nobody's talking about the Very Large Telescope. They're all like, James Webb this, James Webb that. I'm like, what the hell is the Very Large Telescope just chopped liver, apparently? Like, I'm a huge fan of the Very Large Telescope. Like, I wanted to see these comparisons of the Very Large Telescope, not Hubble. They're two different things, But I guess it's the only other, space telescope that people know about. So, I guess, fair enough. So, something I thought was interesting. The person they had on in Star Talk, she was an exoplanet expert.
Yeah.
And when James Webb was first founded, because here's the crazy part, right? Like, basically, we got Hubble up there. Hubble was up there, I don't think even that long. And they were already like, okay, what's the next telescope we're going to build?
Yeah, they want to make it better.
And they were like, okay, and they started working on James Webb. So this is late 80s, early 90s. Exoplanets were a theory at this point, right? This is how crazy this is. They were a theory. And so, that's how long we've been working on James Webb. We've been working on James Webb for 30 years. Exoplanets, we're working on them for 25.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy crap. So James Webb, if I'm not mistaken, the original, it just so happened that it's going to be good for hunting exoplanets. Actually, well, I take that back. I think they've got a whole... No, they don't. Never mind. I was thinking if they had an instrument specifically designed to hunt for exoplanets. They don't. They just realized, it's going to be good for it, though.
Yeah.
Now, maybe James Webb is specifically good for this kind of... Maybe we needed James Webb for those deep galaxies and for exoplanet atmospheric things. Because maybe the Very Large Telescope, maybe it can't get good spectral data from those distant galaxies and those...
Could be.
Huh?
Could be, yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. They can't get good spectral data.
Mm-hmm.
We can get we can use it to hunt exoplanets and that kind of stuff, but we can't get good spectral data maybe from their atmospheres anyways, but hard to say, we'd have to get someone like Dr. Becky on the show to tell us about it. But
on our show.
Oh yeah.
Well, like us going on her show.
What would she have to interview us for? Like
couple of schmucks. You think they know it all?
Oh, actually, they mentioned this. We talked about the commercialization and building telescopes, and they were like, "Oh yeah, putting space telescopes in space, it's not something that is privatized, right? No company's doing this." I'm like, but why? We spent $10 billion, 30 years to build this telescope, right?
That's actually interesting, because like the university, they have like 4 supercomputers, and you can use part of the supercomputer. You can have access to the supercomputer as a UNL student.
Yeah.
Just for whatever you want.
I've used it.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want on it. And it got me thinking, what if we had telescopes that, you could just use whatever. A university pays a small fee to get their students access to it,
So they have. So I saw a service. You could do this for astrophotography. They have these telescopes in places like Chile and stuff, but they're not like they're not like James Webb, and they're not like people doing research with them. They're people who can't maybe afford telescopes or in light polluted skies or live like where we live, where it's just hell trying to get a clear night. Yeah,
exactly. That's one thing I never get. Why is it that a clear night is always during the week, and it's never around a new moon?
Well, I can get to. We'll get to that. I got a whole thing about the atmosphere that I've been thinking about for the past several years.
Is it correlated in any way, do you think?
To what?
Is it correlated in any way, do you think?
To this? Oh, correlated?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I haven't really thought about it in depth or done any research, but I mean, you could maybe find something. Not with the moon. Maybe the moon, maybe the moon, but and just correlation to the weekends. I don't know. I think it's
no, because see, my thinking has always just been like, all right, think this through, right? There's 2 weekends and 5 weekdays. You have more than double the likelihood of having at least one sunny day,
right?
Versus half the chance, little less than half of having a Saturday. Because not even that. Because you don't care if Sunday is clear. You want Saturday. You have a 1 in 7 chance.
You have 6 times.
You have a 1 in 7 chance of a clear day.
Yeah.
Versus a 5 in 6 to be clear.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously it's more in favor. And then not only that, you have like a 1 in 30 chance for it to be, new moon.
Right.
Now, obviously it does happen, but I notice a lot of times it's partly cloudy. Partly cloudy, to me, is much more likely than perfectly clear or just cloudy all around. Because most of the time it is partly cloudy. But if it's partly cloudy, it's not really worth it. And most of the time it is just partly cloudy, which is normal. Because partly cloudy to me just means at least 10%.
So actually, we'll come back to we'll get back to that. We'll finish this telescope discussion. So they have consumer grade, prosumer grade telescopes, if you will, that you can go and use and take whatever photos you want with that are in dark spots and clear nights or whatever, in Chile and stuff. But okay, and it's for and like if there's a big enough and this is a market for amateurs, right? And I'm thinking to myself, that is not a very big market. Like I can't imagine that's a very big market compared to like all the universities in the world who need a telescope, right?
Yeah.
All the people doing research papers, all the funding they get, because not these people need funding to use it. I guess right now, I guess telescopes, I guess like James Webb and that they're free to use, and so you'd have to have a whole different system designed for. You'd have to redesign the entire system around the telescopes not being free anymore.
Well, I do think that something like James Webb, or obviously that something should be reserved specifically to NASA. That way their server's not being bogged down by other people doing whatever they want.
Well,
they can have continuous 24/7 research.
Well, yeah. Obviously, I don't think any any Joe Schmo who and there's a massive waiting
Any Joe Schmo with Wi-Fi should have access,
right?
But maybe they could at least have some decent, something that's maybe slightly less than Hubble or whatever.
Right.
That's still decent, better than you could buy.
Yeah, and so I'm like, there has to be. Maybe not even a space telescope, but ground-based telescope, like a big ground-based telescope.
In the desert or something. Yeah, absolutely.
But maybe there isn't. Maybe there just isn't the money there. I don't know. I wish, if there's ever a business I want to start, that's the business right there.
That would be a cool business. Yeah. We set up a telescope in the freaking desert.
We build a space telescope, yeah. And
we set it at so we'll find one at the Tropic of Cancer.
Another at Chile. Just do with it all.
Well, no, because northern, because then there's stuff that you're missing from the northern latitude.
True, but I think
because I don't know, could you see say Betelgeuse or something? If you go too far south, you won't be able to see Orion.
Well, we're going for, but researchers don't care. You realize how big the sky is.
But maybe there's someone out there who just has an interest in northern latitude stars or something. They want to know what stars northern latitudes look like.
Well, I think
it'd be ideal to have that way you could cater to more people.
We'd have to figure out what kind of telescope to build and how to use it, because there's two types of telescopes. There's something there's James Webb, which is very good at doing looking at specific objects. And then there's something like the Ronin telescope that they're building. It's a decommissioned spy satellite. So actually, it cannot be pointed at Earth.
It cannot be pointed at Earth.
No. Even though it's going to be at L2, it cannot be pointed at Earth.
Huh. Why is that?
Because it's that good. Even though it's going to be designed for thermal and stuff, it's that good.
Huh.
That the U.S. government, even though those things are going to get launched till 2030, the U.S. government's you cannot point it at Earth. Because,
you could see people.
I watched, these YouTubers who talk about, the weekly launches, that get launched all across the world. And, there's weekly rocket launches. It's usually U.S. and China. or more, or it's SpaceX and China. And actually, SpaceX just beat their record for last year. So, if we took all the launches they did last year, which was already record-breaking for them, they just matched it this week, or last week.
Huh.
And it's July. So they are on point to get 60 some odd launches this year. That's over one per week, which is like, that's never been done. China's doing it. Nobody's talking about it. Like, literally, China's in the news every damn week, launching a rocket, but whatever. But it's like, it's never been done.
No one cares.
It's like, I was like, oh, SpaceX is doing it. I'm like, yeah, freaking China does it every damn week. Sure, it's not always the same type of rocket. It's a different rocket, to meet their needs or whatever. But nobody's talking about it. Anyways, so, which is exciting. So telescope business idea, pretty cool idea. You'd have to figure it out. But anyways, the Ronin telescope's a survey telescope. I guess you could also build a solar telescope, but I think that's a bit more niche.
What? A solar telescope?
Yeah. They've got one in Hawaii. Oh my god, the video it gets it's beautiful. Just the stuff you can see on the sun is it's awesome. And it's old too. It's like the stuff was from like 2017, someone's footage or whatever. But it was circulating like last year or whatever. Somebody found it. Anyways. So yeah, it's just an idea. But I don't even know where to start with that. But the survey telescope, Ronin's Ronin's going to survey like the entire sky basically, and it's looking for changes. It's looking for dips in light of stars, dips in lights of like. It's not looking. I don't think it's looking for galaxies per se. I think it will be used to look for like we were talking about. It's looking for those gravitational lenses.
Is it called Roman or Ronin?
Roman or Ronin. I don't know which one. One of the two.
I think it's Roman. I typed it in. I was going to look at it.
Yeah. And it's a survey telescope. It takes big swaths of thing. By 2030, it's just going to basically have supercomputers just running the data from it, because it's just going to constantly be it's going to take massive surveys, huge surveys. We're going to have supercomputers just sifting through it, looking for changes in the dips of light. We're looking for black holes, we're looking for gravitational lensing of galaxies, we're looking for exoplanets, all kinds of stuff. But that's basically what it's designed to. It's still, I guess, where James Webb, they're going to be looking at specific areas, getting specific spectrums. This thing is going to be like taking surveys. People are going to be able to do, entire research just based off of the survey. And then somebody could then use that data and, those points, that's going to map out these stars, and then go and watch these stars with other, maybe more. I mean, it's a pretty powerful telescope, but more powerful telescopes like the Very Large Telescope or the Extremely Large Telescope, which will be around by this point. And they'll be able to go and look at those individual stars and get spectra of those planets or whatever that it finds, or what have you. Because, there's data we've had for decades, right, that we're still sifting through and we're still doing research on. There's so many photos of galaxies, right? But they need to classify them, because when they're not classified, they're not very useful. Because you can't do, your redshift and blueshift analysis on these galaxies because they're not classified. So you go to galaxyzoo.com. If you watch Dr. Bekshi talks about this, and you can go and just what does this galaxy look like? And you say it looks like this, and it gives you, little options to pick from. Because AI or algorithms have biases that we can't really eliminate. But a crap ton of people just going and looking at galaxies, it's a lot less bias. Because an algorithm we can write up for bias, but we don't know, right? Every there's always these outliers that, it's blue, but it's not a spiral galaxy, but it's blue shifted, or it's a bluer tint, or whatever. So it's a amorphous shaped galaxy, but it's blue. Well, that's an outlier. That doesn't fit the data. The data suggests that these elliptical galaxies, and that's what they're called. They're amorphous shaped ones. They have older stars. They're a warmer color. They're red. They're not blue. And so if you got one that's blue, it's an outlier. So
Yeah.
big issue. Blah 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 blah. Dr. Becky did a whole video about it. Anyways, other news. We're just gonna briefly go over it. I think we wanted to come back to the clear sky thing, right? Chemists rearrange atomic bonds in single molecule for the first time. Very technical stuff. I was reading through it pretty fast, and I was just like, I don't understand half the crap they're talking about. Luckily, I knew what a isomer was. I looked it up the other day, and so luckily I knew what a isomer, not a isomer, an isomer. I didn't know what an isomer was. I had to look it up one day. I was curious what it was. But basically, it allows us to get molecules or like shapes of molecules that wouldn't be possible otherwise, and they came up with a way of doing that.
I see.
Using electricity and stuff, which doesn't surprise me. It's interesting. But the part I was really curious about is literally just this last two paragraphs, and it was, yeah. Otherwise, the rest was like, okay, this is a bit over my head. Although the first sentence is pretty good. If chemists built cars, they'd fill a factory with car parts, set it on fire, and then sift from the ashes pieces that now looked vaguely car-like.
Determine how the car was built.
No.
No.
They would then go, and then when you're dealing with car parts the size of atoms, this is a perfectly reasonable process. Yet chemists yearn for, and then they would try and put a car together with those.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like if chemists, wanted to figure out, well, I guess it's kind of physics too, but like if they want to know what constitutes a proton, they blow it up. So if they want to know what constitutes a car, they blow it up.
No, they're not looking at what constitutes a car. They're looking to build a car. But for whatever reason, they prefer. Yeah, it's all about, because currently chemistry is very inefficient and it's a lot of waste, right? Think about a chemical reaction, right? You're not converting every single molecule in there into desired products. It's not possible. Well, chemists want to figure out how to make that happen, how to get every molecule to do it, how to get everything to be the desired product, and how to do it as fast as possible. And that's what they talked about. And that's what this would be useful for. Because, again, we'd be able to manipulate these molecules into shapes that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get. And then we could maybe find catalysts this way and blah, 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 blah. Kind of interesting. And then also, I didn't even read this article, but I just saw the title, and I thought it was kind of a stupid idea. I mean, it's a cool idea. It's a great idea, but it's a stupid idea. New antibiotic can kill every drug-resistant bacteria. Great! Until, they become resistant to it, and then, we're back at square one. So,
well,
it's great, but don't let it go too far, because then we're back to square one. But the telescope thing, before we move on to the comments, the clear sky. So it was 2019. It was that spring. And, when we just started doing videos again, and I'd go to your house. I go to your parents' house every weekend or every other weekend or whatever. I don't remember how often it was. It was really often.
Uh-huh.
And it snowed. Every damn weekend. Without hesitation, it snowed. Would snow all week. Actually, it was nice all week. And then would snow every single weekend. And I learned, because the atmosphere got stuck in like this rhythm, right? There was this polar vortex. And it would circle around the entire globe and then come back and dump more snow. And it would take a whole week for it to do this. That's just back when I was interested in ham radios, and this guy came and talked about it. And so,
Yeah.
I'm curious. I think maybe the Earth is in the weather cycles are in weeks like that. I think because of how the rotation of the Earth and, these patterns, these are big weather patterns. These are massive air things. So they can get stuck in this weekly pattern. And I think that's what's happening. Is that they get stuck in this weekly pattern. So it's clear all week long, you get a high pressure system. But then that high pressure system moves out and you get this low pressure system in and you get these clouds that form.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's also supposed to be a drought out there, so I don't even know how there's clouds in the first place. So I question whether they're actually accurate or not. Now, as to why it falls on a new moon, I can't help you. I think that's probability there. But
Yeah.
maybe there's something to do with the moon. Maybe.
No, I don't know. I think it's just because you have a 1 in 30 chance versus like 29 and 30. You know,
Although
you're more likely to have a clear day in those 29 and 30 than a 1 in 30.
true. Although if the moon,
And like I said, it's more likely to be partly cloudy, if anything.
true. But at the same time, but if the moon can influence tides, why shouldn't it be able to influence the atmosphere?
Well, it probably does. I don't know.
But I don't know. We're not meteorologists. So.
It could have an effect. I really don't know.
Anyways,
I'm just saying. I think
it's
a lot of it
probability.
maybe comes down to probability. Yeah, I think probability is a better reason. Just because I don't understand how the moon affects weather other than tides.
True.